You are listening to the Estheticians Earning More podcast with Brittany Hageman, episode number 185. I am kind of in shock that we're so close to 200. I mean, I have been podcasting for 4 years, so it does make sense. But it's really wonderful that we're still doing this, that you're still here, especially if you've been listening from the beginning, or if you started listening at some point and caught up and have listened to every episode. I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for being here. This podcast is one of my favorite things to do in my business. And so I will keep doing it as long as you keep listening and are interested. So thank you so much. Today, we're going to talk about paying yourself. I have talked about this on the podcast before, but I really wanted to do another episode where I specifically talk about paying yourself and how to do it and how important it is. And if you can't pay yourself, what you need to do differently so that you can start paying yourself. Before I get into that, I did want to tell you, if you're interested in working with me, I'm currently fully booked. However, at the time of this recording, I am taking clients to be on my wait list to start in March 2025. I can take, I think, 2 clients then. So once those spots are taken, then I will have a wait list for further in 2025 to start. So if you've been on the fence, if you've been thinking about it, and you think that maybe later this year you'll want to start, get to my website, fill out the form of interest, book a discovery call with me, and let's get you on the books for when you're going to start. To be on my wait list, it costs $100 to hold your spot. It's non-refundable. And then once it's time to start, you will get that $100 off your first payment and all that stuff. So if you're interested and you've been on the fence, now's the time. It feels like it doesn't need to be said, but it does need to be said because I talk to a lot of estheticians. I do have a lot of discovery calls in my DMs. And I know a lot of estheticians do not pay themselves. So if you don't pay yourself, this is not a shaming you or telling you like what is wrong with you. Like very, very common thing I hear. However, we want to get you to pay yourself as soon as possible because I know I've said this before, you are running a business, not a nonprofit or a charity. And taking money and paying yourself is the number one goal of the business. Obviously, making money and then paying yourself, right? So you have to make money to pay yourself. But if you are not paying yourself consistently, especially if you've been in business for at least a year, you will completely burn yourself out because being a business owner is hard. It's hard work. There's a lot of things to do. You are not just being an esthetician, which I assume you're really good at. So in order to deal with all the hard things about being a business owner, all the downside, the upside is you should be able to pay yourself more than you would make if you were working for someone. Now, I know when you first start a business, that may not be the case, especially if you're starting from scratch, which I do not recommend, but I know people do it. I recommend working for somewhere else and getting clients that way and bringing them over to open your own business. And that's not always an option. People sometimes have contracts that you can't do that. But if possible, getting clientele before you have all the expenses of being a business owner. And I know it's expensive to be a business owner. I know I've owned 2 businesses. I know, especially an in-person business where there's rent and physical location, all those things. Having said that, your goal should always be how much are you going to pay yourself? So when you're writing out your goals, especially if you're one of my clients, like part of that, and I'll ask my clients, like, okay, this is your goal, then how much are you going to pay yourself? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know. But we need to have that number because it affects how we show up in our business. So if you are making at least $5,000 a month in your business around there, 100% you should be paying yourself, 100%. And if you are fully booked, you for sure should be paying yourself, and you should be paying yourself at least $5,000 a month before taxes. So if you are making $5,000 a month in your business and you can't pay yourself, or if you're fully booked and you cannot pay yourself $5,000 before taxes, this is the episode for you. Okay, so let's talk about some of the reasons that you may not be able to pay yourself and why that needs to be fixed as soon as possible. The number one, well, honestly, they're all equal. A lot of people I talk to, they all have all of these things wrong in your business. And when I say wrong, again, I'm not trying to shame you, but just like it's not set up the way that it should in order for you to have a profitable business. So you are not wrong, but we have to change the way it's set up. And the first offender is really high expenses. Now, what this looks like is investing in skincare lines and or devices where you know there is a great return on investment because you believe in the results of the skincare line and or the device. Like you've loved it, you've tried it, whatever, you see other people making money, but you don't have the skills and or the confidence to sell it. So you may be used to selling a product that is $20 for a cleanser, and then you've have this new line and their cleanser is $45. And when it comes to selling that $45 cleanser, you don't, because you have a lot of drama in your head about it's too much money, people aren't going to pay it, people are going to think you're just trying to take money out of it, so your brain prevents you from selling it. Now, of course, there are people that do not have that drama around sales, and they bring on that line and they sell that $42 cleanser. They bring on that device, they sell that $400 service. Like it's not a problem for them. So you may see people out there doing that and you're like, I believe in it. I think this is a great treatment. When it comes to selling it, you stop yourself. So then what's happening is you have a very high payment. And I would say for most people on the devices that I see, it's around $1,000 a month, maybe $800, maybe $1,200. So you have this very high payment of a device that you are not selling at least that same amount of money in services for that device. Like you're paying $1,200 a month and you're not doing at least $1,200 in services for that device. So you're paying a lot of money for a device and treatment that you're not selling. Now, of course, if you have that $900 payment for whatever machine you have and you're selling $7,000 of services for that machine, great. And that's obviously the goal. But a lot of my clients are in the situation where they have bought a HydraFacial, they have bought Glacial, they have bought a ProCell device, and it is just collecting dust. And maybe they have 1 or 2 clients a month, but that does not pay for the device and all the expenses that come with it. And so it creates just a lot of anxiety. And now you have this extra money and more money is going out than coming in, and it is a mess. So if that's the case, you have to get clear in your head about money. And money is probably something that you're afraid of, that you have a lot of drama about. And I'm not saying drama in a bad way, but just like mind drama. Like your brain is trying to protect you. Your brain is it's afraid of people judging you. And so there's a lot going on that makes it really challenging for you to do that. And that's what I do with a lot of my clients. We work through those fears, and it can take time to see that change. But once you do, then you can sell that product. You can sell that $42 cleanser. You can sell that $400 service, and it's not a big deal. The other thing that I see with spending is something I kind of talked about last week, is that you're like, I don't like social media, so I'm going to hire someone to do it. I don't like this, so I'm going to hire someone to do that. I don't I don't want to do laundry, so I'm going to send my laundry out. And it's not an actual good choice for your business because you have the time to do those those tasks, but you just don't like it. And so, technically, if you're paying people to do these things for you, you do get a benefit from not having to do it yourself. But if you did it yourself, you could actually pay yourself more money. And so sometimes I see this happening is oh, I can write it off. And so you just spend without thinking about, is this actually a good investment for my business? Is this actually working? For instance, I'm not going to, this is not to say not to do this, but I've tried to use the app ManyChat in this business, my esthetician business, coaching business. And I've used it for a while now. And I know people have a lot of success with it. It just hasn't, I have not seen enough people engaging in my post with the keywords that you use to get people to listen to podcast episodes or whatever. So I'm going to cancel it. It's only $15 a month, but I've used it for months now and it really I haven't seen a big change. And so those kind of ways of thinking about expenses, like, yeah, it could be a really beneficial thing if it helps and if it works, but we have to make sure we evaluate and we could look back at it and things like that. Another reason you are not paying yourself is because you are not selling retail. And I know you know this. And this can be really hard. This can be really hard, again, if you have money drama in your head. This can be really hard if you built your business on clients who love themselves a facial and do not want to ever talk about product. It's really hard. I did that. All my facial clients, like most of them, had no interest in products. They were just there for the facial. And so what I work with my clients on this is attracting clients that want to get a treatment that will change their skin, whether it's relaxing facial with a great treatment and will buy product, that those two things are something that they're looking for. And then being comfortable talking about products to their clients and presenting them in a way that's really easy to understand and makes sense for the client to buy. I've said this before on the podcast, but you're not going to sell $100, $200 skincare routine to someone who uses Dove bar soap on their face and like no moisturizer and no SPF. Like maybe you can sell them an SPF or a moisturizer, maybe. But if they're using that and they're happy, they are not, that's like a $3 item that lasts for like months. They are not gonna buy from you. You can be the best salesperson in the world. It's just not going to happen. Or they buy it and they're not going to rebuy it. So retail sales, especially if you do skin, is paramount. Now, if you don't do skin, if you do hair removal, if you do lashes, other services, your skill has to be on point. You have to be fast and you have to be really good. So you can take more people and give them the same results of someone who's taking twice as long for you. Like when I got my lashes done, our every other week appointment was 45 minutes. If the appointment was an hour, hour and a half every other week, I would find someone else. I don't have time to have an hour and a half appointment every 2 weeks. That is not at all in my schedule. And I would say that's the case for most people out there. Now, I know that there is this like movement, I've seen it online with estheticians of like, I don't speed wax. It's going to be a slow and relaxing experience. I don't know anyone who wants a slow and relaxing wax experience or a slow and relaxing lash experience. Neither of those experiences are comfortable. Neither of those experiences you want to spend more time doing and then you already have to. I know in the lashes, like you're under a blanket maybe, and you could maybe even fall asleep, but you have a light on your eyes and they're like touching your eyelashes. Like as much as you can relax, that's great, but it is not relaxing. Like I'd rather get a massage, right? If I want to relax for an hour or two. And obviously hair removal, it hurts. And I know that sometimes if people take longer, it can maybe make it less painful. But most people just want to get in and get out. I know people really want to believe that the slow relaxing is wanted. And I think there are people out there that want it, but not the amount of people who you would need to make the money you would need to make to be able to pay yourself. And I've worked with a number of people in this situation, whether they do lashes or hair removal or like all those kind of services where there's not a huge amount of retail sold. They need to be fast and they need to be great. So if you're in those industries of aesthetics, get really fast and really good at being fast. That would be my advice to you. And the last thing that you probably need to change if you were not able to pay yourself is your prices. I know, you're like, please don't say that. Your prices. And you're probably, if you need to change your prices, you already know. And let me know if this sounds familiar. You're like, I need to change my prices. Okay. But I changed them a year ago or 6 months ago, and I'm afraid that people are going to see the prices and think, who does she think she is? Or who do they think they are? Who would ever pay that? It's not worth it. I'm going to find someone cheaper. This person is just trying to take money from me. This person is out of touch with pricing. This sounds familiar. This is something that you need help with, the pricing. Because, again, I know estheticians that raise their prices, not a big deal. Maybe have a little bit of nervousness or drama around it, but they can do it. They can push through it. But if raising your prices feels like you will raise your prices and you will lose your business, that's a thought error. Now, again, if you charge like $110 for an acne treatment and you're now going to charge $500, yes, you will lose some clients. That's a very big increase. But if you charge $110 and you're going up to $120 or whatever, $10, not a big deal. It is not a big deal. I'm here to tell you. People most likely won't notice or care. And you may have a client or two that complains and or quits and goes somewhere else. But the money you will be making with everybody else paying the higher price will cancel out that person, and you get someone else to replace them who doesn't have a problem paying that price. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but now I feel like I'm this money hungry person and I don't care about my clients because I'm happy to lose someone who's not paying me, and I'm happy to replace them. And I don't like feeling that way. I don't like operating that way. First of all, I know, and I've been there and I felt this, because you're a person that cares about people and are connected with your clients, and that's a wonderful thing. But you won't have a business if you can't pay yourself. There will be no business for them to come to get their service. If you continue at the rate you're going and you cannot pay yourself, especially if you're fully booked and you cannot pay yourself at least $5,000 a month, there is no business in a few years. Because it's not sustainable. You have to be able to pay yourself. And if you are working so hard on clients and seeing client after client, and then it's time to go pay your bills and you don't have the money, and you should take loans to pay for things that you just need to have in your life, like not even extravagant things, right? You're not like going out and buying a Gucci purse or something crazy, like just normal things. That will not work. Some is eventually going to fall apart. You're going to get resentful of your clients. You're going to take everything personally. You're going to feel like you're going to start to feel like people are just trying to get free stuff out of you. It really creates a lot of resentment. And then what ends up happening is that you quit. And you're like, I can't do this anymore. Because if you were working at another job that you were just you just worked there, you'd be making more money and have less responsibility and stress. So I'm not saying it's you or them. I'm just saying you are a business owner. This is not a nonprofit. You have to make decisions that will keep money in the business, and so you can pay the people who work for the business, aka you. I remember, I don't know if I told this story in the podcast before. Maybe. Emily, my client, tell me if you've heard this before, because I know she's listened to every episode. Tell me, Emily. Before I worked for Target, the job that I took in San Diego, when I was living in Sacramento, and then I was interviewing for jobs in San Diego. And this is right after the recession. Jobs were still really hard to find. Anyways, I had been working in green energy in Northern California and Sacramento, and so I wanted to continue doing that. I loved it. So I found this company, and they were like, we do over $1 million in sales a year, and they did LED lights for landscaping, and we're looking for a project coordinator. It was a very small business, and I had done project coordination in Sacramento. Anyways, I came to work for them, moved to San Diego, and very quickly I learned that they did not have the money that they said that they had. I think maybe 1 year they had a really good year, and the rest of the years were not the case. And the business was just barely getting by every day. There was a husband and wife that worked there, and there was 3 employees. And my job was not sales. My job was managing the production of the lights. But then a lot of times we couldn't afford the parts because we didn't have enough money coming in. It was just a big mess. I learned a lot, honestly, from watching this business. And my last week of working there, the owners said, we don't have any money to pay you and the other 2 employees this Friday. We don't have payroll. And I asked how much payroll was, and they told me the number. And I got on the phone and just started calling customers and selling lights so we would be paid. And then I quit right after that, and I went and ended up getting a job at Target because I just needed a job. So my point in telling you this is, would you have someone work for you for a month or 2 weeks and then be like, we can't pay you? No, I hope not. I hope you wouldn't be like that company where you're essentially not going to pay your staff. And you are your staff. You are your staff. And so would you look at someone and be like, yeah, I know you've been working so hard. You've been seeing clients back to back. You've been working just crazy hours trying to, do all these things. And I'm sorry, we only can pay you $1,200 this month, or even less. No, because you can't live on that kind of money. I don't care where you live in the United States. So if you wouldn't do that to someone who worked for you, why would you do that for yourself? And then be like, well, so-and-so is going to complain at the price range. Or so-and-so is going to get mad because I'm going to be talking about products. Or I'm afraid of talking about the Hydrofacial or the Glacial and people judging me. Wouldn't people needing money that worked for you, you would make it happen, right? So if you need help with this, go to my sales page, fill out the form, wait for an email from me to get the link to book discovery call. If you're a good fit, you can get on my wait list. We can change the way that you pay yourself this year and actually make money for yourself, not just your business. Have a fantastic week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.